Hi everyone, this is Miss Sarah from the Willoughby-Eastlake Public Library, and I'm here to continue reading Escape from Mr. Lemoncello's Library with you. We are on chapter 21, and I'm just going to go ahead and get started. So here we go. Ouch, I'm stuck, help! Haley Daly's cry sailed up the staircase as Kyle led the charge down the steps to the stacks. So, what exactly are the stacks? Asked Akemi, 3 steps behind Kyle. It's where the library stores its collection of research material, said Sierra, who was 2 stairs behind Akemi. The 3 of them reached the basement. It was filled with tidy rows of floor-to-ceiling shelving units. Help! Haley sounded like she was on the far side of the room, behind the walls of metal storage racks crowded with boxes, books, and bins. What is all this stuff? Said Kyle, looking for a passageway, trying to figure out how to get wherever Haley was. Mostly rare books and documents you can't check out, said Sierra, but if you fill out a call slip, you can use this material up in the reading room. With a whir and a whoosh of its electronic motor, a shiny robot, the color of stormtroopers in Star Wars, scooted across the intersection between the bookshelves. It moved on tank treads and had what looked like a shopping cart attached to its front. Let's follow that robot, said Kyle. It might know the fastest way to reach Haley. The trio dashed up a narrow pathway to where they saw the robot extending its quadruple-jointed mechanical arm to pluck a flat metal box out of a slide-in compartment. The box had been stored in a section of shelving with a flashing LCD screen that read, Magazines and Periodicals, 1930s. Somebody upstairs wants an old magazine, said Akemi. They're probably researching the Gold Leaf Bank building, said Sierra. I think it was built in the 1930s. Help! Screamed Haley. I'm stuck! Hang on, shouted Kyle. We're coming. Well, hurry up already. This way, said Kyle. They scampered up another aisle, turned right, and saw Haley, her hand jammed through a horizontal slot near the top of the basement wall. To reach it, she'd had to stand on top of the elevated treadmill, maybe 30 feet long. Since the thing was rolling, Haley was jogging in place so she wouldn't fall on her face. The high-tech conveyor belt was actually a series of rollers. 10 robot carts, staggered so no 2 were directly across from each other, were lined up on either side. I think it's an automated book sorter, said Sierra. That laser beam near Haley's ankles probably scans a book's tag and tells the conveyor belt which of the 10 sorting trays to shove it into. You guys, screamed Haley. Hurry up and rescue me. Kyle stepped back. He tried to assess the situation. What is that slot you're hanging on to? The bottom of the book drop, said Haley, trotting on the treadmill. I saw it on the floor plan. People can walk up to it on the sidewalk and return their books. I figured it had to lead down here. Smart move, said Kyle. You could crawl through with a slot and escape. If you were the size of a book, said Akemi said sarcastically. I never got that far, said Haley. The minute I stepped onto this belt thing, it started moving. Kyle nodded. Probably a weight-activated switch. A book falls in, said Akemi. The sorter starts up. Clever, said Kyle. Plus it gives our game its first booby trap. Well, the game is no fun if you're the booby stuck in the trap, said Haley. Kyle turned to Sierra. We need to stop the belt so Haley can yank her hand out of the slot without falling on her butt or cracking open her skull. Have you ever read a book where the hero outwits an escalator or a rolling checkout belt in the grocery store or something? No, said Sierra, not really. How about one where the hero just flips an emergency shutoff switch, asked Akemi, because that's what I'd do, if I found one. Akemi was standing next to a wall-mounted switch box. She flicked it down. The conveyor belt slowed to a stop. Ta-da! Another chapter of my amazingly awesome autobiography, if I ever write one. Haley yanked her hand out of the book return slot. It sort of popped when it finally sprang free. She collapsed on her knees on the frozen treadmill. My hand feels flatter than a pancake, she moaned. Are you hurt? Asked Kyle. Maybe we should tell the security guys that, what, I have a boo-boo and need to go home. Forget it, Kyle Keeley. You're not going to beat me that easy. I'm not trying to. Haley showed him the palm of her hand. Save it, Keeley. She crawled off the conveyor belt. One way or another, I'm going to win this game. I just hope starring in Mr. Lemoncello's commercials earns me some decent money. She hobbled around the bookshelves toward the staircase up to the reading room. When she was gone, Akemi raised her hand. Question. Yeah, said Kyle. How come the guys inside the control room didn't flip a switch to shut down the book sorter when they saw Haley doing her cardio cha-cha on it? Kyle shrugged. Maybe they weren't watching. Actually, said Sierra, pointing to a square tile on the floor near the book sorter, I think they were. Kyle looked down. The tile was glowing like one of the tablet computer screens upstairs in the rotunda. Kyle read the words zipping across the illuminated square. Congratulations, he read out loud. For helping Haley and being a sport, you've earned much more than a good report. The tile popped open. Inside a small compartment was a rolled-up tube of paper with a yellow card clipped to its end. Huh, said Akemi. I guess somebody was watching. Kyle pulled the yellow card off the paper tube. It smelled like lemons. What's it say? Said Sierra. Kyle flipped the card over so Sierra and Akemi could see what was printed on it. Super duper bonus clue. All right, chapter 22. Oh man, that was so dumb. Haley could not believe how idiotic she had been. Trying to crawl out of a book return slot, like that was gonna work. She was giving herself a good talking to as she trudged up the steps to the first floor. When she entered the rotunda, she saw Charles Chiltington slipping out to the lobby again. Chiltington was a snake. Worse, a garden slug. Maybe a leech. Something oily and slimy that left a greasy trail and liked to mooch off of other people's ideas. That's why Chiltington had trailed the twin library nerds, Pickleman and Fernandez, upstairs during last night's dessert hunt. Haley was smart enough to know that Chiltington was hoping to steal the book geek's ideas. Actually, Haley was a lot smarter than anybody except her teachers, whoever scored her IQ test knew, with certain people, mainly grown-ups and silly boys, pretending to be a ditzy princess made getting what she wanted a whole lot easier. And what she wanted right now was money, lots of money. Her dad had been out of work for nearly a year. They'd run through all of their rainy day savings. They'd had to borrow from relatives and in-laws. If Haley could win this competition and become Mr. Lemoncello's spokesmodel, her family's money woes could be over and they wouldn't have to sell their home. And once other people saw her on TV for Lemoncello games, they'd want her for their commercials too. And movies, maybe her own sitcom, something on the Disney Channel. But for all of that to happen, Haley needed a winning idea and fast. Something better than crawl through a slot that's barely wide enough for your wrist. Maybe she could flush herself down the toilet and escape through the sewers like Charlie did in that video game. She headed over to the Book Nook Cafe so she could sit down and think. She stepped into the room and checked out the snack table. There were trays of cookies, strawberries, bananas, and brownies. Sitting down to nibble on a macaroon, she studied a row of cookbooks displayed on the bookshelves lining the wall. One in particular caught her eye. Cupcakes, cookies, and pie. Oh my. Because the cover looked extremely familiar. 2 googly-eyed sheep made out of chocolate-frosted cakes with gobs of mini marshmallows for fleece. Haley had seen that cover before. In the lobby. It was on that glass case of memorable reads selected by the library staff. She went over to the shelf and picked up the book. When she opened the cover, she discovered 2 cards. One was a 4x4 piece of white cardboard with a black silhouette of a sheep on it. That's what it is. The second card was yellow and about the same size as a community chess card in Monopoly. Haley sniffed the card. It smelled like lemons. She grinned, for Lemoncello. On one side of the yellow card was printed, Super Duper Bonus Clue. On the other was the clue. Your marvelous memory has earned you even more memories. Proceed to the Lemoncello Abelia room. Look for item 12. Haley slid both cards into the back pocket of her jeans, pulled out her library floor plan, and found the Lemoncello Abelia room. It was up on the 3rd floor. Making certain that nobody, i.e. Charles Chiltington, was following her, Haley quietly dashed up a spiral staircase to the 2nd floor. Checking for Chiltington one more time, she tiptoed up to the 3rd floor where she found a room labeled Lemoncello Abelia, Mini Museum of Personally Interesting and Somewhat Quirky Junk. Haley opened the door and stepped inside. The front room was like a storage warehouse. Cardboard boxes were stacked on top of wooden crates sitting on plastic bins stuffed with papers. All of the boxes, bins, and crates were numbered. She saw one labeled number 576. I guess Mr. Lemoncello never throws anything away, Haley remarked as she scanned the heaps, looking for number 12, the number 12 mentioned on her bonus card. Weaving her way through the stacks and columns, Haley found her super-duper bonus. Item number 12 was an old boot box from an Alexandriaville shoe store Haley had never heard of. Someone had taped a label on the lid. Paraphernalia, accoutrements, and doodads from Mr. Lemoncello's 12th year. Haley lifted the lid. The box was filled with all sorts of confusing knickknacks. Hand-whittled prototypes for game pieces, a star-spangled red, white, and blue HHH Humphrey button, a battered clasp envelope sealed up with tons of tape. Someone had scribbled, "First and worst idea ever," on the front of an envelope with a magic marker. There was also a felt pennant from Disneyland, a rubber-banded stack of cartoony cards for something called Wacky Packages. The card on top was Wiki's Breakfast of Chumps. Haley knew this memory box had to be an important clue. Why? She had absolutely no idea. Okay, so that's the end of chapter 22, and we'll start 23 on our next video. So thanks, and I'll see you soon.